There is a particular kind of silence that follows failure. It's not the peace of a job well done, nor the rest that comes after honest effort. It is heavier, a pause filled with doubt, self-judgment, and the lingering echo of all that didn't work. To begin again, from that place, not out of excitement but out of necessity, is one of the most quietly heroic acts a human being can undertake. We are taught to celebrate beginnings, the fresh start, the clean slate, the bold first step. But rarely do we honor the kind of beginning that comes after collapse, after humiliation, after betrayal, illness, addiction, heartbreak, or personal ruin. That kind of beginning, the one that asks us to rise from ashes we ourselves may have made, is the deeper, harder kind. And it demands a courage the world doesn't always recognize. There is a mythology around success that celebrates momentum and growth, as if life were an upward climb. But real life is rarely linear. It is circular, spiral-shaped. It loops, it doubles back, it unravels. We lose our way. We fall asleep at the wheel. We forget who we are. And when we wake up, when the denial breaks or the storm passes, we look around and realize how far we've drifted. That's when the question arises, can I begin again? And not just can I, but how? The first obstacle, shame before any new beginning can be embraced. Shame must be faced. It stands at the threshold, arms crossed. Shame whispers that starting over is proof of failure, that others don't have to reset, that you've fallen behind, that you should be further along by now. It wraps around the soul like a wet blanket and convinces you that trying again would be an embarrassment, not an act of strength. But shame is not truth. It is the voice of an old survival pattern trying to keep you small. It says, don't risk being seen trying. Don't risk being seen failing again. But trying is the proof of life. Trying is the evidence that you still have breath in your lungs and belief. The myth of final failure. One of the most dangerous myths we carry is the belief in final failure, that there is some point after which our mistakes are irreversible, our reputation unredeemable, our potential permanently squandered. This idea that we can mess up so badly that we disqualify ourselves from redemption is not just cruel, it's false. Final failure exists only if we decide to stop. If we declare ourselves done and choose to live as ghosts in our own lives, then yes, failure becomes final. But until then, there remains the sacred possibility of a different ending. The world loves a comeback story, but few understand the gritty, private labor it takes to live one. Comebacks don't begin with applause or inspiration. They begin in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you are still ashamed, still afraid, still angry, and yet something in you says, get up. Even if it's just a whisper, even if you don't believe it yet, get up. Not all at once, not with perfection, but with just enough strength to take the first small step in a better direction. Because beginning again doesn't mean going back to who you were. It means honoring who you've become in the ruins. It means carrying the lessons, the scars, the honesty you didn't have before, and walking forward with them, not in spite of them. And that's a different kind of strength. Not the strength of innocence or certainty, but the strength of survival. The strength that says, I've been through something and I'm still here. The real work of beginning again. What does it look like to begin again? It's not always dramatic. It might mean apologizing, returning to therapy, making a phone call, cleaning a room, signing up for a class, opening the journal, quitting the job, saying no for the first time, or saying yes after years of fear. Beginnings are not always visible from the outside. Often, the deepest ones are invisible. A shift in the heart, a decision to stop running, a quiet declaration, I will no longer abandon myself. That's a beginning, and it is holy. Sometimes we wait to feel ready, to feel strong, to feel clear. But beginnings don't require clarity. They require will, just enough to get you from today into tomorrow. Clarity comes later. Energy comes later. The fire returns after you strike the match, not before. So the real work is this: strike the match, choose the next right thing, not the perfect thing, not the ultimate plan, just the next right thing, and then do it again the next day. The judgment of others. One of the hardest parts of beginning again is not the labor of the new life, but the eyes of the old one. The people who remember you at your lowest. The ones who saw you when you were lost, angry, addicted, foolish, or cruel. The ones who may not believe you can change, because doing so would force them to update their story about you. And some people would rather keep you fixed in the role you played before, even if it means denying your progress. You will face this. You will feel it. Some will doubt you. Some will mock you. Some will treat your efforts like performance. Others will watch from a distance, waiting to see if you fall again, and you might. In fact, it's likely beginning again does not mean ascending in a perfect arc. It means failing forward. It means catching yourself quicker when you slip. It means getting better at telling the truth, not just to others, but to yourself. The courage to begin again includes the courage to look foolish, to be misunderstood, to risk being mocked. You may feel alone, but in truth, you walk among saints, millions of others who are also trying, in quiet ways, to climb out of the grave they once laid down in. They are your people. You may not know them yet, but they exist, and they will find you. Learning to trust yourself again. Perhaps the most painful part of recovery, whether from trauma, addiction, failure, betrayal, or loss, is the deep erosion of self-trust. You may doubt your own ability to choose wisely, to discern rightly, to resist what once destroyed you. You may feel haunted by old patterns and old selves, like ghosts just beneath the floorboards. This is normal. Self-trust is not something you can declare into being. It must be rebuilt, like a bridge that collapsed. Slowly, carefully, beam by beam, you learn to trust yourself again, not through grand statements, but through small follow-throughs. You say you'll do something, and you do it. You promise yourself 1 hour of writing, and you sit down, even if all you write is nonsense. You say you'll walk a mile, and you walk it. These are the quiet acts that stitch the soul back together. Over time, your word to yourself becomes more solid. You start to believe it again, and in that belief, you find power. Letting the past be a teacher, not a warden. The past is heavy when carried the wrong way. It can chain you down, lock you in place, tell you lies like you'll never change, you're too far gone, you always mess it up. But the past is also a library. It holds records, evidence, proof of what does and does not work. When approached with honesty, it can become a teacher, not a tyrant. To begin again does not mean erasing the past. It means changing your relationship to it. You don't need to forget it. You don't need to hate it. You can learn from it. You can bless it. Even the ugliest parts, especially the ugliest parts. Because those are the places where you found out who you were and maybe who you didn't want to be. A person who begins again is not someone without a past. They are someone who has learned how to carry it differently. The sacredness of a second chance. Every spiritual tradition has some form of this truth. Mercy is real. Renewal is possible. What is broken can be made whole. Not always the same shape, not always the same way, but whole in its own right. To begin again is to believe in this mercy, even if it's just a little, even if your hands are shaking, even if you're full of doubt. You take one step forward, not because you are certain, but because you are willing to live again, to try again, to offer your breath to the day ahead. That willingness is sacred. It is the beginning of a new life, and it cannot be taken from you by the judgments of others or the failings of yesterday. It belongs to you, and with it you can build a new world. Final words. You may not see the path. You may not feel ready. You may still ache from what came before. But the courage to begin again is not about clarity. It's not about perfection. It's not about knowing what to do next. It's about standing up when everything in you says stay down. It's about moving forward when every voice says you can't. It's about trying again. Even if your last attempt broke your heart, you do not need to prove anything. You only need to begin. And when you do, when you take that first trembling step, you join the long line of those who refuse to be defined by their endings.